Hello and welcome to our special edition of Politiki, brought to you by News 24. We are continuing with our live coverage of the happenings here at the ANC's 5th National Policy Conference. As promised, we are speaking to the power brokers or the leaders inside the ANC as they continue with what they're calling a festival of ideas. It's the policy conference ahead of the National Elective Conference. We do know that what comes through or the resolutions that are made here are just proposals. They will be confirmed by the elective conference in December. The first 2 days, as we've been saying, were dedicated to renewing the ANC and finding new ways as the ANC confronts its many challenges, many of them related to their decline in electoral support. Joining me for this edition is the chairperson of the ANC in Gauteng, Dr. Paul Mashatile. Thank you and welcome to Politiki.
Thank you very much.
We thought let's start it off by talking about the ANC in Gauteng and its contribution to ANC politics. Many have said that that influence seems to be waning, especially as you're finding yourself in the back foot with a decline in support of votes, especially with what we saw in the 2016 elections. From the ANC in Gauteng's point of view, how do you see your contribution to the national politics of the ANC?
Well, our support is not necessarily waning. We may have lost the metros, people stayed away from voting, but the ANC in Gauteng is still very strong. We had a provincial policy conference a week ago before we came here, and we are very clear what we want to propose, to debate with others, and most of our proposals have been well received, others are being contested.
Very much so.
As you know, it's a festival of ideas, but we like that. We're not saying we know it all. When others are saying, look, we don't agree with you, we debate, and that's what's happening in the commissions.
And I mean, one of the key issues that has been contested is this issue of, when you were saying this whole issue of white monopoly capital is not part of the ANC lexicon. We just heard from Fikile Mbalula basically quoting back and saying from 1912 and various leaders of the ANC, that has been the ideology of the party.
Yes, I've heard Fikile saying that, which is true, but remember, we work on the basis that we have base documents that we use. And I'm sure Comrade Fikile will remember that in Polokwane we debated this matter and removed reference to white monopoly capital. You won't find it in the strategy and tactics. So all they need to say is that they are bringing it back. For what reason, I don't know. But the good thing is that all delegates agree that monopoly capital remain the primary enemy of the National Democratic Revolution. And in our documents, we have actually defined why we say so.
Explain it to us.
Well, firstly, we're saying that monopoly in their character or tendencies, they are uncompetitive. They create barriers to entry. So in other words, they take industries completely. So there are no other players that can come in. There's price fixing and all tendencies that, in fact, anti-competition, you find them in monopolies. Now, if we want to deracialize the South African economy and bring more blacks into the economy, we want to bring them in those industries. And for a few years from now, the South African economy is going to be highly deracialized. So reference to race will create a problem in our theorization going forward, because we'll then have to change and call monopoly something else, perhaps now a black-dominated monopoly, I don't know. But when you say monopoly capital, you include everything. So you're not leaving out white monopoly capital, it's in there. But it's a debate of theorization, but we don't want to rely on speeches of people, we rely on base documents. And if there's a need to revise the strategy and tactics to now include this, that's a debate we're having, but it was not there.
Let's talk about your contribution to the debate around the economy. Gauteng is the economic hub of the country. You know, if you guys sneeze, the whole country catches a cold. What has been the main contribution in terms of practically, how do we then move the economy from this crisis that is in and moving forward?
Well, you'll know, for instance, that in our conference in 2014, we emphasized the issue of radical social and economic transformation, particularly in the second phase of our transition to the National Democratic Society. And we took practical steps to do that. If you look at the Gauteng government, what the Premier announced about the TMR, which is transformation, modernization, and reindustrialization, those are the interventions we are doing. We are beginning to build what we call a township economy. We are reindustrializing certain parts of the province, particularly your Ekurhuleni areas. In some areas like Johannesburg, it's a strength of our financial sector. And we are supporting small businesses. Our view is that small businesses are going to help us create jobs. And therefore, you are going to see going forward that we are going to push strongly for support for small businesses, particularly even those in the township economy. But we are saying that the ANC must move faster to bring black people into the mainstream of the economy. So we support the issue of black industrialization or black industrialists to come in, triple BEE and so on in all industries. So we're going to push for that. The Economic Transformation Committee starts tomorrow.
The one issue that has come out of this conference, starting with the diagnostic report by the Secretary General, has been the issue of state capture, in particular mentioning the Gupta family. As Gauteng, and given that the document talks about its continued harm to the organization, as Gauteng, what are the practical steps that needs to be taken to resolve this crisis that the ANC is in?
Well, Gauteng has supported the judicial commission that the president said is going to set up. There are others who are saying perhaps this must be done sooner rather than later because we need to clear people. This allegation against some of our comrades is not helping the image of the ANC. And I think the sooner we do that, the better. But also, I think leaders of the ANC, ministers, etc., must move away from these issues because I'm sure the Guptas are not following them in their department. They are allowing them to come. It's easy if you are a minister.
They're opening the doors.
Yeah, as a minister, just say no. Don't want to deal with you guys.
But do you think that the ANC should not take a stronger stance in terms of disciplining those that are found to be implicated? Because by their nature, judicial commissions of inquiry take a lot of time. And frankly, South Africans have lost faith in them because we've seen them happen over and over again, and very few of the recommendations are actually implemented.
No, I agree with you because the ANC has got its own integrity commission. I think the Integrity Commission must call comrades to account. They don't even have to wait for the Judicial Service Commission or Judicial Commission of Inquiry. They must call comrades and say, you are being alleged to have done 1, 2, 3, come and explain yourself. We shouldn't really be waiting because it's damaging the ANC. Every day you read newspapers, it's emails from Dubai, and some people are even saying that our policies of the ANC are made in Dubai, which is an insult.
And let's talk about that
ANC.
Because the opposition, obviously the Democratic Alliance, is basically attacking you on this. We just saw that this weekend they've just taken out an advert in the Sunday Times where they're basically denouncing this ANC policy conference. And basically, if we can take a look at that advert, there it says ANC policy proudly made in Dubai, and on next door to it, it says, we couldn't have our country sold to the highest bidder, we need a new beginning. What is your reaction to this advert by the Democratic Alliance?
It's an insult to the hundreds of members of the ANC who are gathered here, who are genuinely dealing with issues affecting this country. There are a few people within our ranks who are creating this impression, as I said. And the ANC leadership must move fast to deal with it. But we are here, we are debating issues affecting our country, we are reviewing ANC policies. There are no Guptas in this conference. So we are dealing with these issues.
But they're there in your documents. They're there in your documents.
All I'm saying, we are not influenced by them. They are not being represented here. These are genuine members of the ANC from branches who are concerned, by the way, by issues of state capture and the supposedly influence of the Guptas. The SG raised it in his diagnostic report that we must deal with this issue. And I'm saying it's not many members of the ANC who are creating this problem. It's a few, and the ANC must deal with them.
And you must be particularly concerned, Dr. Mashatile, given that the 2016 results, a lot of your members have said are based on what happens nationally, whether it's perceptions around the president, the many scandals that he is involved in, that has contributed to you losing Tshwane and Johannesburg. How are you repositioning yourself as the ANC in Gauteng, as the heartbeat of the ANC, even when you look at contribution to the final results in terms of the people who vote for the ANC?
Well, we are working very hard on the ground. Some of the issues raised were around e-tolls. We have now taken a firm view that all the roads that we build in now, that are in our plans, are not going to be tolled. We are listening to the people. The current toll roads that are there, National is dealing with them. The new minister is engaged with the Premier to say they'll try and find a solution from that system. And of course, other issues that were raised are national issues that the SG has raised in the diagnostic report. They are being attended to, that the ANC is not going to continue to be led by denialists who are not going to be arrogant. We'll be listening to our people. We'll reconnect with them. We're going to get our members to spend a lot of time in communities, stop to be inward looking, and deal with the issues that communities are raising. I'm confident that we will be able to pull through 2019 as ANC in Gauteng.
And what's your
victory.
position on the continued stay of the president? Gauteng was seen as the one province that was pushing for him to step down.
Well, we have gone beyond that debate. Now, the president said anyway he's not standing in December. So I think our preoccupation now is who must come in. And we are going to spend most of the coming months looking at what kind of leadership we need, who should be in that collective. We don't want to rush to pronounce names. We will come to that by September.
You don't want to pronounce names because you always back a loser. That's how it goes. Gauteng always backs a loser at elective conferences. Is that why you're delaying this time around?
No. I think we're going to win this time.
You're going to win
yeah,
this
but our view is that we don't want a winner-take-all situation. We have pushed for debate and consensus. We think that unity must be paramount in what we do. And if we can get a united leadership that represents all our members, the better, rather than winner takes all. I think winner takes all will destroy the ANC.
You've had these conversations between different provincial chairpersons and secretaries as part of trying to find that unified leadership, or some might call it a slate. But that conversation is influenced by what? I mean, as you're sitting and talking, what are you saying about how that unified slate must look like?
Well, we are still discussing as provincial leaders. Our view is that we don't want a slate.
Okay.
We want consensus. We want to agree. So we don't want one particular group to say, this is it and nothing else. We want to say, let's have the best among us, create that combination, lead all members of the ANC, because we are going to be fighting a tough election in 2019, and we really need a unified leadership.
And there's this debate that's going on about increasing the top 6 officials of the ANC and including more positions like extra DSGs or an extra deputy president. Gauteng hasn't pronounced on that. Do you not agree that it's time to restructure that top 6?
Well, if you look at our policy documents from our policy conference, you'll see that there is reference to strengthening head office and the ANC in general. So we do support views that perhaps you need more full-time people at Luthuli House. I think the issue of whether we have a second deputy president and a second DSG, those things are still being discussed. They have not found support everywhere. Some people are concerned that, some of them may be viewed as if we want to accommodate factions.
Yes, and that was going to be my
question. So
question.
we're just treading carefully on that. we are discussing with other comrades. In my input to the Gauteng Provincial Police Conference, I did say to comrades that these things are still being refined. There is a view, for instance, from the Eastern Cape that we must have all 1 million members of the ANC voting. So I don't think those issues will be concluded here. It's still early stages. I think provinces must talk more amongst themselves. But the principle of strengthening the ANC, particularly head office, is agreed to.
Are you not concerned about the strained relationship between the ANC currently leadership and the stalwarts? We had President Jacob Zuma basically accusing them of looking down at delegates, and now we've just written a story where Mavuso Msimang, one of the stalwarts, is accusing them of lying. That cannot be healthy for the party.
Our view is that we should continue to engage with the stalwarts. I think attacking one another in the newspaper is not going to help. So we will push that the leadership, the NEC level must go and meet with them, discuss. We need to find one another.
One of the things that you also talk about in your policy proposals is building a stronger relationship with non-governmental organizations.
Yes.
But I find it strange, even given that we've had a lot of talk by ANC ministers accusing them of being regime change agents. And if you look at that diagnostic report by the Secretary General, there is where the ANC is saying there is this regime change agenda. Do you agree with those sentiments?
Perhaps the regime change agenda is there. I don't want to deny it. But I think the ANC need to be careful of pushing people away. I think we want more allies on our side than less. So we must continue to stretch our hand. If we think an NGO has got a strange agenda, we will say that and we won't work with them. But I don't think we should generalize and say, non-governmental organizations out there, all of them are a problem.
Why do you think there's a need to reconnect with them?
My sense is that when we won liberation in this country, we had a united front. You'll recall there was a UDF that brought in the churches, who worked with SACC, the civic movement, the students, the lawyers. I think it's a mistake that now that we're in power, we isolate these sectors. I think we must pull them closer. At the policy conference in the province, I made reference that perhaps you need a broad front of progressive forces to work with us, even in government. I think gone are the days where the ANC think it can govern alone, only with working with the SACP and COSATU. We need to broaden our approach and bring other progressive forces that agree with us, particularly those who subscribe to the Freedom Charter.
How real is the threat of losing power in 2019, given that you emerged with just 53% in the last provincial national elections?
I think it is real if we don't address the issues that the SG raised in the diagnosis report. But if we do, I think we should be okay. Obviously, we are concerned that we have a less reduced majority, but we will work hard. If we address these issues, I'm confident that we will retain Gauteng in 2019.
Thank you very much. That was the Gauteng ANC chairperson, Paul Mashatile, joining us here on Polotiki, brought to you by News 24. We will continue with our coverage of the happenings here at the ANC's 5th National Policy Conference. For now, that's it.